Welcome you to week 3, and I hope you had a good week. And we're going to enter into some new territories today. If you haven't muted yourself, I'd recommend, if you would, please mute yourself so that the recording can come through really clearly. Just a few announcements, some upcoming workshops I'm doing. September 20th, I'm doing a frankincense masterclass. It will be recorded, so if you can't come live. Frankincense is one of my major go-to aromatherapy buddies. I've been using frankincense as an anti-cancer agent, as an agent to create some relaxation in myself and my clients. And so I'm going to do this master class, where to buy the essential oil, how to tell what's a good quality, how to dilute it, use a carrier oil. We might do some meditations, lots of applications, how to use frankincense. So that's September 20th. October 3rd to the 26th, any practitioners out there, we're going to invite you to my Geodome. And we did this in July. We had 5 people. So if you have any kind of health license, health practitioner license, massage therapist, counselor, occupational therapist, anything, you would qualify, and you can email me and I can send you the details, but you get to come to the Geodome. Not many people are coming these days. November 8th, I'm doing a one-day in-person workshop here in the Geodome. We did this in August. It was tremendous, unbelievable. You can read the testimonials, and that would be a way that you could really interact. We have a very small group here, so that's for one day. And then finally, my Kauai workshop. I think we have 1 or 2 people have already signed up. So if you're interested, contact me. We can set up a call and I can tell you the details. It's going to be a really deep dive into healing and health. And we get to do it on the beautiful island of Kauai. And there's a picture of the Nepali coast on a non-rainy day. And it's like a second home for me, my spiritual home, Kauai. So a lot of powerful energies there. If you have any inspirations, contact me and be happy to land you in Hawaii. Okay, so tonight's topics. We're going to enter into the world of iridology. Iridology. And the second part of the presentation is we're going to talk about fear and vision. Okay. The fear in our eyes, the fear that we have about going blind, the fear that comes up when we're afraid we're going to go to the eye doctor and he or she is going to say, you've got this condition. So those are our topics tonight. And the first thing I want to talk about is the emotional and energetic language of the eyes. You know, the emotions have such a strong influence on how we see. The emotions create a lens that we look through that really colors things. And I have had thousands of people that I've worked with over the years who were doing a session and they have an emotional release and they can see the eye chart better just after a release, emotional release. And so the emotions of the eyes are something that optometrists and ophthalmologists fail badly to talk about. They also fail to talk about the energetics about the eyes. But you know, you probably heard me say this before, the eyes are the organ of light. And the more light we take in, the more light we can project out. And in session 5, we're going to spend a good part of the workshop on color and light therapy. I have a long history of using color and light, and we talked about it in session 1 in red light therapy and photobiomodulation. But what if you look at the other colors? What colors, how do they affect your eyes and your body? So the eyes hold unspoken stories. You know, when we start wearing reduced prescriptions or eye patches or just, you know, moving our eyes outside the normal routine, we get triggered. The unconscious energies that we internalize through our eyeballs in the form of prescriptions begin to surface. I had a person the other day, I think she's in the class, she talked about how she's wearing a reduced prescription and certain memories and things are coming up about times in her life when she actually wore that reduced prescription. So it definitely can trigger the unconscious energies that we absorb in our eye tissue, soft tissue. We've talked about how we absorb tension and we don't even know it. Fear, our fight, flight, freeze responses, that's in our vagus nerve. And the second part of the session tonight, we're going to talk about the fight, flight, and fear and how it affects and colors how we see. So the eyes reveal what the body can't express in words. And, if you're doing eye dialogue or you're taking your glasses off in certain non-demanding situations, you're now in a new reality. And in being in that new reality can reveal perceptions, insights, belief systems, emotional reactions that you would never get to when you have the cover-up, meaning your full prescription or surgery or drugs, injections, those kinds of things. So we're going to jump into something called iridology. And iridology is the study of the color of the eye. It's also the structure. So when somebody says, oh, I've got blue eyes or I've got brown eyes, basically what iridology is, it's a study of looking at those colors, pigments, patterns, because they actually relate to a mapping that has been done by doctors, naturopaths, to create a roadmap on the health of our physical organs and glands and our systems of the body. We call them genetic tendencies and health nurture points. So a couple things about iridology. I'm not diagnosing anything. I can't tell whether you're pregnant or not. I can't tell whether you have cancer. I can't tell, whether you have cataracts, although I can look into your eyes and I could tell that way. But what the pattern of the iris does is it tells us what we need to nurture that comes through our genes in digestive health, lymphatic health, liver health, nervous system, all the endocrine system glands, our connective tissue. It's really amazing. Then the second thing we're going to look at briefly is something called the Rayid method. This is actually a way to look at the iris and determine what is your personality, what are your tendencies that you could be doing to get more out of your life. Are you more of a creative? Are you more of an analytical type person? That's the Rayid method. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to present some functional healing protocols that, depending on what the color of your eyes are, these are general guidelines that could really help take your health to a new level. So I want to give a shout out to my teacher, Ellen Jensen. Ellen was my teacher, and I was certified in iridology last summer. It was very, very extensive study and a 4-hour test that I had to take and pass. And, I'm used to doing that in optometry school. We had to take a lot of tests and get our our boards and fellowships and things like that. But it was really great to study with her. And her father-in-law was the father of iridology in the U.S. Maybe some of you have heard of him. His name is Bernard Jensen. And Dr. Jensen is a master at cleanses, bowel cleanses, colon cleanses, intestinal cleanses. And on our Hawaii retreat, we're gonna go into some more deeper cleansing things and relate it to iridology. So shout out to Dr. Jensen. Really appreciate his research and his hard work. He was in Escondido, California, near San Diego. That's where his clinic was. And Ellen took over his teaching and his practice when Dr. Jensen passed away. All right, I want to give a shout out to Denny Johnson, who created the Rayid method. If you want to read an interesting book, What the Eye Reveals, you can go to his website, rayid.com. And we're not going to touch on this in this class, but Denny actually, aside from talking about different personality types based on the iris color, he also could predict, based on your birth order from your father, first child, second child, third child, what would be your tendencies in life. Fascinating. and I took an advanced course in Rayid, and pretty amazing. I was the first child from my father, and as a first boy, more inwardizing, innovative, creative, dreamy. It's kind of the things that as a child I got to do, and it was pretty telling. And of course, my brother was more extroverted. He's younger. He was the second boy in the family, and he's a doctor in Houston and really out there and in a different kind of way. So really interesting. The Rayid method is quite cool, and I'll be touching on it tonight. Yeah, let's go a little deeper in the Rayid method for a minute, because a lot of people haven't heard of it. So what Denny Johnson did is he was able to connect the physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects through reading the iris of the eye. And so when we talk about the emotional spiritual analysis, and I'll do a case study towards the end of this presentation, so you'll hear me talk about, okay, this person, because of the configuration, is more of a flower type. That's more of a creative, sensitive, kinesthetic type. So we look at the study, we look at the color and the structure of the eye as it relates to personality and behavior traits. This is a map that Dr. Bernard Jensen, with his daughter-in-law Ellen, made some revisions. This is a very detailed map. R is the right eye, L is the left eye. And what's fascinating about this, if you look here at my cursor, we can see here that if there's configurations, we can actually tell what's happening in the breast health, the lung area. Over here, here's the heart, the pancreas, the spleen, the kidneys. This is the left eye. Usually the feminine, the mother genetics. This is the father genetics. If we look in the center, the pupil actually tells us about our spinal health. And in the case history that I talk about, you'll see part of the spine is part of the pupil is flattened here, and the person actually had some spinal injuries and cervical spine issues. So this particular map is very detailed and very connected to our systemic and metabolic health. Okay, so your job tonight is to figure out what are the color of your eyes. And you get three choices: blue, dark brown, or mixed, meaning like a hazel, like a green, like a blue-green, something like that. So those are the three basic iris colors that you want to plug into based on the color of your eyes. So this is a blue eye, okay? And when we look at blue eyes, if you're a blue-eyed person, what we're looking at is a couple things. We're looking at, we call this a lymphatic constitution, meaning that if you've got blue eyes, you've got to look at your lymph health, you've got to look at your sinus health, respiratory, and achy joints, arthritis, muscular issues, joint issues. Those are three main areas that if you're blue-eyed, that's what you're having to focus on. Because if you're blue-eyed, the tendency is it's very easy for you to become acidic, okay? If your lymph system is not moving, like if we sit a lot, like a lot of us do on our computers, this creates more of an acidic environment in our body. So if you're a blue-eyed person, you've got to take good care of your lymph health. How do you do that? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. All right, so what are some, if you're blue-eyed, what are some suggestions that can help you? Vigorous exercise, walking, doing a trampoline, mini trampoline, walking, deep breathing. I also would recommend skin brushing before you shower or bathe. Also doing a slant board where your feet are above your head, like maybe at a 30 to 45 degree angle. They're the chi machines. Anything to get your lymph system working is key if you've got blue eyes. Also, hydration is a challenge for blue-eyed people. They tend to get dehydrated very easily. And I would add probably a really good electrolyte powder to your quart of water, at least 8 glasses of water per day, getting your minerals and the trace minerals that are very important for cellular health. I would eliminate mucus-forming foods such as dairy products, wheat, and sugar, and assist the lymph system by opening the lymph channels, colon cleansing, infrared sauna, skin brushing, breathing exercises, fasting, colonics, anything like that. Lymphatic massage, craniosacral. And in terms of your intake of foods, think about the rainbow diet, vegetables, raw vegetable juices. Probably the number one lymphatic support in terms of a vegetable is celery juice. And by the way, if you suffer dry eye, try a lemon celery juice in your Vitamix, and that will create a very strong hydration influence not only on your eyes but your body. If you're going to do any kind of vegetable juicing, which I recommend for the plant enzymes, you can do lemon, you can do celery. Another great vegetable is beets. Beets have something in it called nitric oxide, which are a natural vasodilator. It opens up the circulation in the body. Kale, a lot of calcium in kale, and also lutein, good for the eyes. So you can fast on your raw juices. You can eat them in salads. Okay, but digestive enzymes, especially if you're going to do some vegetable juicing, can be really helpful. I might even add cabbage. That might be another one you could add to your juicing. Wheatgrass, great for the liver. Cleansing the kidneys. So another very important organ in the body, kidneys. Parsley juice, watermelon juice in the summer, pomegranate juice, lemon juice, raw apple cider vinegar. Raw apple cider vinegar, Dr. Jensen was really a proponent of putting raw apple cider vinegar on your salads. You can get a spray bottle. It's so good, high in potassium, really good for your alkalinity, many other things. So living foods, high enzymes, great for lymphatic cleansing. If you have mucus issues or respiratory issues, I would recommend mullein tea. That's a really good tea to clean out the mucus of the lungs. Echinacea is great for the lymph. Goat whey also nourishes the lymph system with sodium. So, you've got some really good things here for lymphatic health. I'll take questions at the end, so I kind of have a lot to get through. So we'll take the last bit of time, 10, 15 minutes. We'll go into your questions. Just drop them in the chat and I'll get to them. All right, biliary constitution. This is the mixed iris. Okay, this is the kind of the light brown, green, hazel, blue-green. If you're not sure, you're probably mixed. Okay, this is another example of a mixed. So what we see in the mixed or light brown iris with brown pigmentation, okay, so this is just some anatomy of the iris. The iris has these nerve fibers, and basically if you are in this constitutional set, there are 4 areas you have to focus on. The first is your liver gallbladder. And probably today with the liver and all the bombarding toxins that we get, doing a liver cleanse once or twice a year is a really good idea. And if you're in this biliary mixed, I would recommend a liver cleanse, and I can recommend several of them as we go into it. Generally speaking, there can be a weakness in the pancreas area. So this is your blood sugar levels. I've made the connection between sugar and cataracts, but sugar or high glycemic index or simple carbohydrates can wreak havoc on your cellular health. Gastrointestinal disturbances, digestive errors, especially if the pupillary zone is more pigmented. So the digestive zone is right here. If you follow my arrow, this is called the collarette. And we have these black, they're called crypts. And this particular person is quite vulnerable to things like, at the very least, digestive enzyme upset, inflammatory situations, even something more serious like Crohn's disease or, glycemic index sensitivities, glycemic pancreas issues. So you need to take care of your GI tract. If you suffer constipation, diarrhea, flatulence, blood sugar highs and lows, and liver gallbladder problems. This is what I see in the biliary iris constitution. So what can you do for yourself if you've got this? And by the way, you will get this handout, so don't worry about trying to take notes. Just listen. Try to eliminate all heated oils, deep fried foods, hydrogenated oils. Try to use real butter, organic real butter if you can. Use the good fats, cold pressed flax, algae, pumpkin seeds, borage, olive oils. Cook with olive oil. Eliminate refined white sugar, even honey. Although I would say that if you're getting honey from your farmer's market and it's not processed, you can have that, a little bit of maple syrup and a little fruit. And we'll talk about what are some good fruits that you can eat. Try to eliminate artificial sweeteners. Use stevia or monk fruit. That's another one I like for natural sweeteners. Increase your rainbow diet, red, green, orange vegetables. That's also really good for your retina health. We've talked about that. Drink fresh raw vegetable juices, carrot, celery, beet, spinach, parsley, cucumber. One of the things I like to do if you're going to do vegetable juice, just some inside information, is I make a hot tea as a base. And one of the great teas for bone health, nails and hair, it's also a calming tea, is something called oat straw tea. And you can get it from a company called Mountain Rose Herbs. You can get a big bag of it. You can look up the benefits of oat straw, but very calming, really good for your bones. So what I do is I heat that tea up. I might do a hot melon tea or an echinacea tea or even a green tea. So it's hot. I put that in my Vitamix. I cut up some lemon, lime, or grapefruit. The liver loves bitters, so those bitter fruits are really good. I might do a few blueberries, which is great for the retina, night vision, and retina circulation. And then vegetable-wise, I'll do celery and or cucumber and or cabbage and or wheatgrass and or beets. Okay, I might add a little cinnamon. That kind of balances the blood sugar level. You can do a collagen powder if your doctor recommends that. There's also a fiber formula I love from a company called Avini, A-V-I-N-I, Avini Fiber. And it's got some detoxification agents in it. Avini puts out a really great detox agent called, what's it called? I forget the name of it, but I'll send it to you. Anyway, you put that in the Vitamix and grind it up really well. Put a little ACV in there if you want. You can also do some liver herbs, which I'll talk about. That is a great morning drink as a way of really getting those vegetable enzymes into your body. It's also considered a colon cleanse, a liver cleanse, if you added, this liver formulas, which I'll talk about. If you're this biliary type, this is another constitution that really needs to hydrate a lot. Be very careful about dairy, because if you're creating mucus forming foods, constipating, possibly yeast infections, eliminate the high glycemic sweets. Only use really good salt. Try to refrain from too much alcohol. If you want to have a glass of wine or something, that's fine, but be aware of caffeine and pork. Some other things that I add would be wheatgrass, chlorella, and chlorophyll are great binders that help move toxins out of the digestive system, and they're good for the liver. Bentonite clay is another good binder if you're dealing with things like heavy metals or mold. We'll go into more of the cleansing at another time, but just to give you some ideas. Okay, so for liver health, I recommend milk thistle, yellow dock, burdock. So again, there's a Mountain Rose Herb sells a really nice liver formula that you could get. And if you're going to do a liver cleanse, you can either put it in your smoothie, or what I do also is I'll put it in a glass of water and I'll sip that liver tonic before I eat, and that'll get my liver enzymes working. I'll maybe also do a betaine HCl or Intenzyme, some proteolytic enzyme that's great for getting rid of scar tissue. It's great if you've had COVID. So I combine those before I eat. Betaine HCl will get my pancreatic enzymes working also, and you're good to go. I mean, so you've got your liver cleanse, you've got your morning drink, and look, if you don't want to do those things, just put them in your salads. Another thing about liver health is eat bitter greens. So dandelion root, arugula, cilantro, add those to your salads. Anything bitter is really good for the liver, just FYI. All right, third type is hematogenetic. So this is a dark brown iris, okay? So this particular, here's another one, is for dark brown people, dark brown irises. And if you've got a dark brown iris, there's a couple of questions that I always ask you. The first would be, have you ever had any thick blood or anemia or blood disorders? This particular constitution has an opportunity to nurture the blood more. In addition to that, this is another constitutional type where it's hard for you to store essential minerals. B vitamins and essential minerals tend to get out of your body due to stress. Also, constriction and hardening of the lymph tissue. Disturbances in the GI tract. Usually it's a very resilient constitution, so even when you get sick, you can turn it around. But your biggest lesson in life is resting, being able to rest. You got things to do, make a list, put it away. It'll be there tomorrow. Come back to it. So make that list and then forget about it. Anemia, circulatory insufficiencies, as we talked about. There can also be glandular system needs, thyroid, adrenal, pineal, pituitary. We can see all these things in the iris pictures. Liver, gallbladder, spleen, insufficiency. Okay, so we've covered the three different types of constitutions. This is just more for the deep brown-eyed people, which you'll get. All right, let's do a case history. So this is a 55-year-old woman, and her constitution is lymphatic. She's got blue eyes, and when you look at the picture, on your left, that's her right eye, and on your right, that's her left eye. So the right eye is more of the father genetics, and the left eye is more of the mother genetics, okay? So we've got a lot of things going on here. First of all, something that stands out with me is, you can look here, this is the collarette, and this is the digestive health. And you see this particular pigment, it's kind of like a light orange, and this would suggest I would ask questions about anybody on the father side with either urinary tract infections or problems with the pancreas, blood sugar. And when I asked this lady, she said that on her father's side, there was diabetes and there was also chronic urinary tract infections. So that kind of tells me a few things. On the right eye, we see this little brown pigment, and it's over by the heart area. So whenever we see a brown pigment, we see it in the left eye here. This suggests liver, the liver sign, liver signals. And so, we might ask some questions about liver health. And for this person, I recommended that they do a liver cleanse. Part of what I asked them to do also was a castor oil pack over their liver at night. And we'll talk about castor oil packs and how to do them. Castor oil is really amazing. I don't know, many of you maybe have used castor oil for reproductive health, digestive health. They're phenomenal. So in any case, there's some liver signs there. And if we look at some of these kind of round configurations here, 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 I'm going to bring in the Rayid method now, Denny Johnson. This person is a flower. So a flower person is somebody who needs creativity. And she's an artist, so it's perfect. But creativity is kind of like her oxygen. It's what she needs to thrive. She would not be good as an accountant or a lawyer unless she could bring creativity into it. So she's a flower. She's also got some fibers here, as you can see. It's got a little blurry up here and here and here and here, and also over here on the right eye. She's what we call a stream. So she's a stream, and a stream is a person in terms of the Rayid model, somebody who likes to get things done, who gets into the flow and is in go, go, go mode. The problem is you got to know when to rest. So the other thing that she's got is she's got the pigments, and we call this a jewel type. So when you've got pigments, you've got jewel, so she's got all three. She's a flower, she's a stream, and she's a jewel. And so she's what we call a shaker, a flower shaker. So that means she'll do good in leadership. She'll do good, really good work in the area of creative leadership. And, you know, that's what she's doing. She's working as an art teacher at a school, and she's got a really good position there. She's been doing it a long time. So really perfect. If you notice here, this bulge around the pupil, this is the cervical spine, cervical area of the right eye. And she's got chronic pain in that cervical area. She's had some injuries there. And so she's getting craniosacral therapy from me, and she's doing a lot better. Her vision is really cleared up by opening up the cervical spine area. And by the way, there's a very strong connection between our cervical spine, the tension there, and our eye muscles. So when you loosen up the cervical spine, it relaxes the eyes. Things like astigmatism go away, myopia reduces, farsightedness reduces. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. Now over here, she's got something. This is in the respiratory area, and this is on the mother's side. So she said that her grandmother had tuberculosis. So there's a little weakness there in the lungs. And this gal shared with me as a child, she had a lot of respiratory bronchitis, inflammatory issues. So she recognized gluten, dairy, and sugar are not good for her. So she's off of those things, and her respiratory health is fine. She's also got this marking here. This is another, we call it a lacuna. This is right on her heart center, and her grandfather died of a heart attack. So there's heart things in her family. Fortunately, she takes really good care of herself, and so there's no heart issues. One of the main herbal remedies we use is called hawthorn. That's an herb that really supports the heart health. So she's got a little weakness there. And then over here on the right eye, she's got a lacuna, and this is right in the liver and the gallbladder area. So another liver sign. And, so she needs to take care of her liver, constant liver cleanses. There's a little white here. These are called tophi, collagen bundles. This suggests that she could move more towards an inflammatory ecosystem in her body if she doesn't take care of her lymph health. And then the last thing is she's got a little blue here. And I asked her about her sleep, and she had a sleep test from a biological dentist who found that her oxygen levels were really low when she sleeps. So he created a device for her she sleeps with, and now her oxygen levels are really high. So you can see a little bit of blue, which says, okay, oxygen-wise, she may not be getting all that she needs. So just as an example. So that's just a kind of a broad brush of what we do in iridology. A little bit of Rayid, a little bit of Dr. Jensen's work, a little bit of some naturopathic advice on cleanses and diet and tendencies. And if she lives within these parameters, she's going to do great. It's just when she steps outside of that, that's where there's probably going to be pain and achy joints. There's going to be problems in the respiratory, possible heart issues, those kinds of things, liver issues, and so on. All right. Well, if you would like an iridology session, email me, and this can be done remotely. I'll teach you how to take the pictures and send them to me. $100 off the regular price. If you want to do an iridology session, send me an email. All right, I want to recommend this book, Breathe, by James Nestor. And there are a lot of reasons why I love this book, but the art of breathing and the research that he's done around it, and one of the things that validates my work is that he talks about how humming actually improves the production of nitric oxide in the bloodstream. And we've talked about nitric oxide as a vasodilator, and this is a way that you can do your palming and humming, and it can naturally improve the blood flow. So I really recommend his book. All right, we've got a little time left, so I want to go into the fear vision reset exercises. And the reason why I want to go into this is because, when I do a workshop with people, one of the things that we bring into it is what they say, the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is I'm afraid I'm going to go blind, especially if you've been given a diagnosis, right? And I'm going to lose my independence. I'm not going to be able to drive. I'm going to lose my reading. Cognitively, I'm going to get dementia or Alzheimer's. You know, we go down that rabbit hole when we're told we've got this situation. There's no proactive to it. And the fear just grips us, and it becomes a straitjacket. So I want to give some tools on how we can start releasing our fears. So these practices that I'm going to share with you help release the stored energy that I referred to at the beginning of the lecture. They can be in your nervous system, they can be in your fluid body, but it creates a state of contraction. And the primordial state, the primitive state that we go into is either we fight, we flight, or we freeze. And we want to move into expansion, which is calmness and clarity. And we do that by combining breath and movement and vision therapy and somatic awareness, things we've been doing. These are tools that can help us